IVM.
We'd like to thank Storytel for sponsoring this show. Storytel is an audiobook platform that lets you hear hundreds of thousands of stories on your mobile, PC, wherever you prefer. Now, generally, Storytel is a great deal at $2.99 a month for an unlimited number of books, but for our listeners, we've got something special. The first month for IVM listeners is now just $99. That's an insane deal. It's $200 off the first month. To start you off, let me recommend one of my favorite books, Range, How Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. It's a book by David Epstein and is one of the most thoughtful books I've read recently. He talks about early specialization and why that's not necessarily the best way to go in a modern world where problems are not always simple and viewing them from multiple lenses are helpful. In the Indian context where we're forced to choose science, commerce, or arts in the 10th standard, I think this is particularly applicable, and it's a great read. So go to storytel.com/IVM, go get your first month at just $99 and check out Range by David Epstein. Great read.
Welcome again to Football Shootball. My name is Gaurav. Welcome again to a fabulous episode after a lovely weekend. But before I ask you how your weekend was, which I can ask but you can't answer, or probably if you do, I don't get to know it. But I have two lovely people, the most endearing people that I have in front of me, Shivram and Karthik. Let's start with you, Karthik. Karthik, how was your weekend?
36 all out.
36 all out. What better? What better than that? He's already given up on football. He's focusing on cricket. But you should be excited about Fulham, actually. Their past 2-3 matches, they've been much better than what we thought they would at the beginning of the season.
No, absolutely. If only the referees did not have an agenda against us, then we would be even better than where we are currently. 4 points have been robbed from us, Sapre, because of referees who have a bias towards Liverpool and for some reason Newcastle.
I agree. Talking about delusions, I'm glad, at least with Arsenal fans, Siva, you expect this to happen, right? Week in, week out. So I shouldn't really ask you how your weekend was.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to it, but I will like to contribute to that. I think there's a bias against Arsenal also now that let me just get on that train. It's because of the referees is why Arsenal is losing. There was a 20% chance that a referee could have affected our game, and looks like the referee did affect our game. It was so bad I don't even remember that game. Like, it was damn boring. I have no words to describe Arsenal anymore. But let's talk about the other blockbusters that happened on the weekend apart from 36 all out.
We should. So we're calling this Bang Bang for obvious reasons. Liverpool scored 7 goals. United scored 6 goals, and Arsenal shot themselves in the foot again. So Bang Bang
Very nice.
is most appropriate. And by what you just said, it is just down to one person coming to stay in London, which is Jose Mourinho, who whines all the time. And that's why fans whose clubs are in London are also whining, just like the two of you. And we heard a couple of days ago, a very senior political leader from the Tory also has done something in London. He was whining about the fact a new strain of mutant virus, etc., etc. I don't think you should call it.
What did Lampard do now again?
Oh, Lampard, I'll tell you what he did. He's talking about
joke. It was a joke, Sapre. My goodness. It's as bad as Arsenal's defense. You miss everything.
No, but Lampard did say something, and I thought he's picking up on that. But we'll talk about it when we speak about Chelsea. But right now, there is Amit knocking on the door who wants to speak first. So here we go, and meet you after the break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Once again, just a quick reminder, please do help us out by filling out our survey. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. It really does help us figure out who's listening and, what are the characteristics that we can go and push to advertisers. That is massively helpful to us. Please do help out with that. So, on the network this week, let me start with a quick milestone. It's the 100th episode of Begin the Journey with Ashish Vidyarthi. Congratulations to Ashish and the team. Great show. If you're not listening to it, he talks to you about just how to approach life. It's just very, very cool stuff. Do check this out. Want to mention the note with Maruk Inayat. She talks about why petrol prices are so high. On the Wired Talk, Siddharth speaks with Harsh Mandar. On Advertising is Dead, Varun speaks to Kabir Biswas, the founder of Dunzo. They have a really interesting conversation about, what's the future of Dunzo and what they're thinking about. on the Traveling Professor's Diaries. Check out Siddharth talk about the performance paradox. I found it really fascinating and interesting. I think that you guys will really get something out of listening to that. Please do give that a listen. And finally, let me mention Zindagi Diaries. It's Ragini Kumar's poetry podcast. The first week when it came out, we put out 5 poems first week. We put out another 5 poems this week, and the response has been phenomenal. Do check it out. It's in Hindi. It's a poetry podcast. Something a little different. Do give it a shot and let us know what you think. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Okay, now before we move on to anything else, Lampard was talking about strategy, right? He said why he played Tammy instead of Giroud, and how are we going to, get our experienced fullbacks back in the game with injuries, etc. So he's all full of fucking crap, just like everybody in London.
Wow, this insight on this podcast is why I'm still here.
And that is why you should be on the podcast. So more insights on the next episode. Let's talk about what really happened. Let's start with Liverpool thrashing Crystal Palace 7-0. Salahites, as they are called or should be ideally called, were freaked out looking at him on the bench.
Salahites.
But he... Salahites.
Oh my God.
No?
Yeah, so you guys remember... No, so there have been these things. So there is...
Who's?
You remember Kane? Huh?
The Undertaker Kane.
Big red monster machine Kane.
Big red machine.
Yeah, who's now a mayor in the US.
Yeah.
So he used to call his followers, fans, Canaanites.
Canaanites?
Yeah. Canaanites.
Sounds like a wrestler made it up.
Yeah, so if that's what you're saying, then there was this guy called Test. Okay?
Oh my God.
You remember him?
Of course.
So he used to call his followers testicles. Yeah. No.
Suddenly my insights sound better, don't they?
Yes, let's go with Salahites for the purpose of this podcast.
Yeah, let's go with Salahites. He took 10, 12 minutes to do what he has to do, 2 goals and an assist. It made too much of a difference to the scoreline, but or the points that Liverpool were going to earn. But fantastic, right? With so much being spoken about, Jota out and Firmino scoring, and Mane got on the score sheet, right? And Tintin also scored the first goal.
Tintin. The funny part is, who's talking about Jota getting injured and the rest of the injuries? Klopp himself. So it's not like other people are talking about them. He's only talking about himself and complaining. So, but spectacular. 7-0. What a beautiful game to start the weekend. And I don't know who said this, but this is pretty accurate. If the first game of the weekend starts with a bang, 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 the rest of the weekend also continues in that fashion. And I think for most intents and purposes, it held true. Like a couple of high-scoring games, and then United won 6-2 as well. So, I mean, it was a precursor of what's to come.
This took us back to the first few game weeks, right, when there were a lot of goals being scored. And then
when football was fun. Arsenal was also, sometimes winning.
Correct. But what with these 2 or 3 players or 5 players, as Klopp says, who are injured and will come in, Shaqiri, one of them, of course, helped them win the Champions League, etc., etc. You think Liverpool are still going to get the title this season?
Somehow they've opened up a 4.5 point gap. I don't know when did this happen. The last time I spoke to you guys, Tottenham were leading.
This is when you predicted that Spurs will win the league.
Yeah, I literally went and looked back, Shivram, 7 days ago, since the day we're recording. Tottenham were on top of the table. Now they're 6th.
That is the beauty of Spurs and Mourinho, Karthik.
Spurs they've taken only 5 points from a possible 15. And Bale has only bought probably like 1 golf kit from his 20 million a year salary. So I don't think...
This is why Arsenal's better. Arsenal's got 5 points from a possible 30. So take that, Spurs.
We're still better. So I still have my bets on Liverpool winning the title, I think.
I mean, it's not a bet anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I still have my bets. It's like you would have got the worst odds for that, let me tell you.
Like 1-1. We'll give you money back.
Yeah, you'll have to give them money.
Look, the 3 of us...
we'll give you 10 pounds back. Very nice.
The 3 of us couldn't agree. Shiva, you said Chelsea's going to win the league with Werner and Kai Havertz. Wow.
They still have a shot, huh?
They still have a shot. There are 3 shots. Werner doesn't have any of them.
Werner will click in January, and then we'll be sitting here discussing how Liverpool have a lot of catching up to do.
So about Liverpool, hope they win. Let's talk about the other team that is probably the second contender to win the league, which is Man City. They scored a lot of goals, 1. to be precise. And, right? So what?
They scored a lot of goal.
In 7 matches, out of 13, they've scored 1 goal. And in 1 match, they didn't score a goal. I mean, that's what happens when you don't have a striker at City. With Liverpool, they don't have any problems.
I think they were worried that they have to play Arsenal midweek. So they were conserving energy, which is why they only scored 1. They have, like, the regression of this team is spectacular to watch. Like, I still, and Karthik knows this for a fact, like, I will still look forward to City games with the expectation that, oh, this will be 5-0 like it was that one time against Burnley. But every game is either turning out to be a drab 1-0 or at the most maybe a 2-1. So overall, I mean, City is lacking firepower irrespective of the fact that a lot of the players have continued. Like Jesus is still there. Aguero was unfit and in and out of the team. But who else is missing? Like last year, I know they wrote it off because Laporte got, injured. What are they blaming it on this time? They have Ferran Torres, Foden's come through properly. What do you have to blame it on this time?
I think they haven't been able to replace a 20-goal a season striker with Aguero. I think that's where they are missing it. Jesus hasn't ever scored that many goals. He's never close to being a proper City striker under Guardiola.
Yeah.
And he's also been in and out this season. So they've had Torres playing up front. They've had Sterling in the false 9. De Bruyne started late. So I think...
But you say there's too much experimentation is why?
God knows. Yeah, but there's strategy. Probably Ayer can answer that.
Ayer, tell us. Enlighten us.
I think you're being harsh. They played Southampton, who are doing so well, and they beat Southampton. I mean, it's better than what they've been doing of late. So I think it's fine. They'll take the 3 points and, sit quietly.
But I want goals, na Karthik.
Entertainment is... so I've maintained this. I find City the most boring side to watch. Whether they're winning even final or they're drawing 1-1 or losing for that matter. I find them very, very, very boring.
Earlier in the season, you could have said that Arteta's gone, so maybe they're missing goals. But that's not true because Arsenal are not scoring enough goals anyways. So you can't really
scoring, full stop. Enough goals, matlab kya?
Sapre, sorry, what do you say? Arteta's gone, so they're missing cones.
Nice.
They are.
But cones are there. There's no one to pick them.
Let's talk about the team that is not struggling to score goals, which is United. Second best in the league after Liverpool. 6 goals. Some people were saying it could have been some 10-4. I didn't see the first half. So I was disappointed they only scored 2 in the second half, which is what I saw. But how was the game? Did you guys enjoy the game? There were a lot of talks about...
Yeah, there's still talks that Leeds think they can still come back. So they're continuing to attack. There's still time. I mean, what is up with Leeds, man? Like, can they not read the scoreline? Like, I mean, United are not great at the back. I get it. But you're 5-1, 6-1, 6-2. Just like, at some point in time, give up, na? Murder ball, I get. It's not suicide ball. Like, relax. They were opened up left, right and center. I don't think they can continue to attack all the time. Like, there was a City squad at one time, I think, 13, 14 or whatever that season was, where their simple goal was we don't need to defend, we just need to score more than the opponent, which is absolutely fine because you win by scoring more goals. But here you also have to have some semblance of defense because you're not City, you're still Leeds. So it was a fantastic game, no questions about it, but I don't know where Leeds are heading with this strategy.
You enjoy watching Leeds play?
I enjoy watching Manchester United play. As this I've maintained, I think they're the most entertaining side if you want 90 minutes of pure entertainment because you don't know what will happen. This was fun, but the game was put to bed in one half. So yeah, I just saw the first half and I mean, as much as people try to make it out like Leeds can come back from 4-0 down to 4-1 to now 4-4, my God, it was not happening. Yeah.
The game was set to bed in the first 3 minutes.
By Maxos.
He scored 2 goals. Justified his picture on the PS by doing so. So good, kudos to United. If they win the game in hand, it's all about if with United. They'll be 2 points behind Liverpool.
You know what's going to happen, right, Sapre? The amount of times we have said, if they win their game in hand, if they're going to win their game in hand, they're going to crash and burn in that game.
Against Burnley, right? That game.
So they're going to crash and Burnley in that game.
Yeah, very nice. Very well done, Karthik.
We played against Sheffield and we considered the first goal.
You're sidestepping all his puns, why? You're continuing to talk when he's making jokes.
I can't take jokes on when there is United conversation going on. There are enough out there already.
Fair enough, like Pogba on the bench.
Yes, 16 others to be precise.
Terrible.
But let's talk about the biggest joke, which is Mourinho. Right? Nice loss to Leicester again. I have to give it to Spurs. It didn't allow Vardy to score 2 goals. Alderweireld did it for them. Are Spurs going to finish in the top half?
Oh wow, that tone changed very quickly. Karthik, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it was 7 days ago they were top, and I think 7 days later, let's have this discussion once again. They obviously won't be top because I think there may be actually 2 matches by the time we talk next. I don't know. What is the schedule like? Christmas is over a weekend and then New Year's, correct?
Boxing Day, Baba.
Boxing Day is when this weekend and then New Year. So that's next weekend. So there's really only one game. But I think Spurs will be fine.
By fine, you mean in the
By
first?
fine, I mean challenging for the title. Or if Liverpool really run away with it, being there for second and third and fourth.
I'm surprised no one has called out Leicester for being amazing.
But they 2 weeks ago, they lost to Fulham and we were like, hey.
I mean, even you can't believe that. No? That's how insane it is. How can you lose to Fulham?
You would hope, Leicester are decent, but then...
they beat Tottenham at home, man. Mourinho is famed to bring out the bus when he needs to, but the bus was putting goals inside their own half.
Yeah, and the bus never went away even after being 2 goals down. That's so
terrible. They had and I speak from first-hand experience. I captained Kane because I thought risk hai to risk hai. That obviously didn't pan out. I somehow still managed to keep up to speed with the other pretenders. So I'm not too sad about it. But yeah, I think that was the highlight of the day. The other highlight for me and an Arsenal fan was Brighton and Sheffield drawing 1-1. They both, like I said on the group also, every other team is doing Arsenal more favors than Arsenal themselves. Because it was basically a 6-pointer. Either of them could have come really close to Arsenal, but they're all keeping a safe distance.
Yeah, so but then on that, Shivram, one team did not do either of our clubs a favor, and that is Burnley. Because they ended up thrashing Wolves, and we saw this together last night. Yeah, last evening this was. They thrashed Wolves and made sure that I think they went above Fulham in the table and are now just 1 point off Arsenal.
Yeah, so Arsenal have to get up and, look at the table and stop looking at the maths that Arteta keeps pulling out. That is bullshit. That is what happens when an analyst becomes a manager. They just use data to confuse you. There is nothing convincing in the team. Let's talk about something more interesting. Aston Villa on fire.
Jack Grealish is the best. But unfortunately, when you Google Jack Grealish, one of the first commonly asked questions that you find is what does Jack Grealish use in his hair? It's a valid question, I guess. Because
you can possibly use that insight. I am though currently zero hair.
He uses set wet because he's on a £100,000 a week salary. He should come to a better team and then he can use better hair gels.
For £100,000, you use set wet.
Brill cream.
But these are none of these are like premium. In spite of what both your salaries say, these are not premium.
I remember in school there used to be that Brill cream or set wet was that hard look, like it'll make it like hard. Like I mean your hair.
Karthik, yeah. Let's not get.
And there was the wet look as well, right?
Yes, this podcast has become Agla Station adulthood is very different, Karthik.
Yeah, but the problem that used to happen. I hardly use gel or cream on my hair. Okay, during school and all.
Finish the sentences faster.
Yeah. So everyone used to use this in school. So one day I thought, okay, so I think my grandfather had Brill cream at that point of time. So I put it all in my hair, and this was during monsoon. So I'm sitting and playing there during this. And then the rain started coming and something white just started oozing out of my hair.
Lovely. Lovely. PG-13, this podcast is starting now.
I was younger than 13 at that age, so I think it's fine telling that story.
Okay. I don't know where to go from here is the only problem.
Some people make mistakes when they are 12 or 13 and some people make mistakes when they're about it, like you and me listening to this story, Shiva.
Oh my God. But everyone else who's listening is in many age groups.
Correct. So, good for Jack Grealish. Lovely player. We'll quickly talk about Chelsea. 3-0, they've come back. This is the second time actually West Ham didn't score a goal.
They missed Antonio massively.
David Moyes United. They actually just did well in between. I think they're a silly team with a silly manager, and I don't think they're going to do as well as people think they will. I'm glad a lot of people in FPL had that Fabianski and Soufal at back, so clean sheet taken away. So that's the only thing that made me happy. What else? There is much more to be spoken about. Of course, we're not going to cover a lot of these other leagues in Europe unless IR is interested. But some awards were given out. Some Manikchand Filmfare type awards were given out.
Ronaldo won some golden foot. And I'll read this notification out, okay? Ronaldo wins the Golden Foot Award. One of the few prizes Lionel Messi is yet to win. And this is ESPN ka app sending the notification. I think Ayer wrote this because Ayer wanted to rub it into Messi's face.
Yeah, so now Ronaldo is the man with the golden foot. Next summer, his crossover with the man with the iron fist is coming out in a theater near you.
Very nice. Very Alexander Dumas of you. No one in the audience has ever read those call books that we had to read growing up.
Yeah, while you can just Google what Karthik just said, we're going to take a quick break because I also need to Google what Karthik just said.
It's not some dirty thing, huh? Man with the iron fist and all. It's an actual movie. I think Batista or someone.
Man with the iron mask is what you're talking about.
Oh, then maybe don't Google iron fist. I don't know what will come up. I take no responsibility for.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk more after the break.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Naan Curry podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM podcast app या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने podcast सुनते हो.
Okay, since we've just touched upon the awards, let's talk about. I only want to talk about the fact that Leva won. Finally got the recognition he deserves. He didn't get the Ballon d'Or, which we were hoping that he would. But actually, he also came out and said, now I can, invite Messi and Ronaldo for over dinner or whatever. Not that they're going to bother to go. But
तू बड़ा ला.
बोलने में क्या जाता है? ठीक है. जब तो बोल दिया.
Correct.
But good. That I think is fair. Klopp winning the best coach. One person had a problem. Most others were okay. With that. What other awards? Critics awards some Rashford got.
He got most trees planted. Oh no, that's Bellerin. Sorry. Planted his feet in the field more than he's planted trees. Can we move on to more fantasy? I'm done with these awards.
I know you all have done really well, right? Some 80 plus points both of y'all have.
Yeah, so well done. Both of us have, I got 83, Sapre got 85. And surprisingly, in a league that we're actually on the same number of points now. We're on 817 points, which is not bad. We are just 99 points off the leader in the Football Shootball League. So that says a lot for us. I mean, we've been worse off. The Football Shootball League is actually...
But won't it be cool, Shivram, if all three of us come on the same points?
Yeah, but we'll have to wait for a long time for you to come to our points. We'll have to delete all our players. And then wait.
Let's just wait till the start of next season and say the same thing again. It's...
that is the other way to get on the same points. Just wait till the next season. We all start from zero.
Or we can get a handicap. We can start in after Boxing Day probably.
Yeah. Okay.
That could be done.
Yeah, we have to be inclusive.
Anyway. Where are you, Shiva, in the league now?
So I'm coming to that. So the Football Shootball League, you can actually, everyone who's listening can also participate. Go to fantasy.premierleague.com, put in the code H3OMYA, that's H3OMYA, put in the code on fantasy.premierleague.com. You can also join the league. I am actually not that bad. I'm 82 with 83 points. So that's, poetic. Sapre is actually 81. So we're, next to each other with 817 points. There's a lot of people. There are 4 people I see on 817 points. The one person I recognize is Shashank Baliga. I don't know how, but I do recognize this name. Let's go to the top where we are not. Number 1 is Akshay Tejwani, 94 points this week. Salah cap, obviously. His team name is Who's Your Cap? It's Salah. Girisman, Ameya Giri, love the name. 88 points, 911 total. Apurva Tiwari has taken a tumble. Arsenic Beryllium Carb, 68 points, a total of 908. AK, I think either Anurag Kashyap or Anil Kapoor is playing here. FC AK, creatively named. Probably Anurag Kashyap. 91 points, total of 901. 5th is Tanish Katke. I remember him from last season. Great player. 108, which was fantastic. I think that's the most in the league with a total of 898 points. He captained Fernandes. He also had Lindelof. He had Vardy, Grealish, Salah, Justin, Walker and Martinez. He's got a ton of points. Not even a triple captain, still crossed 100. Very well done to Tanish Katke. Sapre, we have done pretty okay. Karthik, just enlighten us with what's happening with you.
I have a tip. I have a hot tip. Okay.
First tell your position, then we'll listen to
my position is somewhat last. I think.
Somewhat last. Then describe Fulham in the table.
It's 228.
228. Not bad.
So many people in the league.
There are so many people behind you. 10.
Yeah. So, but then I want to give my tip because I think this will work out, and people have not really caught on to this because Manchester City, are not scoring goals, and that's all everyone seems to be talking about. The fact is they're really not conceding too many goals at all, and this is with John Stones and what's the guy's name, Ruben Diaz, or in Bandra West, Ruben Diaz. See, I'm going to run that joke to the ground till the end of the season. So.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. But that you bring up a good point because John Stones is only 4.8 billion, and he has started.
Right?
Yeah, so he seems like. But you know what the problem with City is, and we've suffered through this. If you spend like everyone else, I think 5.5, 5.6, so which makes them a premium option. But the problem is you can never trust Pep to start them. So that's like a thing with, especially with John Stones. I mean, he started 2 games back to back, then he didn't start the 3rd game. So you have someone who's a premium option, but not starting. Maybe that may or may not work out. But it's a good punt because technically what you're saying is these are differentials.
Yeah, exactly. Have the stones to select stones.
Cool. Okay. Southampton is playing Fulham in the coming week. Karthik, what do you think? Ings is out, so that's a good thing. Do you think Southampton will thrash Fulham or will Fulham thrash Southampton?
I think Fulham will be fine. Again, Fulham haven't conceded an open play goal. 2 games are up now versus Liverpool and versus Newcastle. The referee will give a penalty because they're apparently paid to be against Fulham.
Ouch! Allegations, spectacular allegations coming out of Football Shootball.
But then Fulham don't score goals either. I would just stay clear of any Fulham player for Fantasy Premier League.
No, Lookman.
No, but where are you getting the points from? He's a fine player, but then in Fantasy Premier League, it's so low level, and like people don't have to use their senses too much.
Get past low level and base level. He doesn't have any other words for Fulham players.
I bet Fantasy Premier League as a whole.
Okay.
Anyone who plays, they're just denominators. There's no lowest common, highest common, nothing. They're just denominators.
I'll tell you where it came from, right?
Where?
Pizza Hut, the base.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay. On that note, let's talk about the other game, which is interesting. Arsenal's playing Chelsea. I mean, I wouldn't put any money on Arsenal at all, ever, except for buying the jersey. Chelsea might. Do you think Chelsea can thrash Arsenal? Because Arsenal are anyway terrible.
I don't think so.
No, Karthik, I think, gave a good punt yesterday. That Tammy Abraham is starting almost every game and he's scoring 1 or 2 at least. No?
No, I think Tammy Abraham's good when you have to make those runs in the channel. I don't think Arsenal are going to play a high line. Not that they can play the high line. They can't. Can't play the high line.
Holding will score all the goals, so Chelsea won't be able to get there.
Yeah, that's the problem. They score too many own goals. But yeah, I know Chelsea will win that match, I'm sure. But it's very weird. Now you don't know who from Chelsea is going to get you the goals. And plus now they've lost Reece James and fullbacks were a lot of threat going forward for opponents. And Chilwell, I don't know what the state of his injury is.
Yeah.
If he's out, well, Emerson plays okay. He's not a great FPL asset as such. So I don't know, maybe a Mount or somebody from midfield.
Cool. Other than that, I think Liverpool play West Brom, which might be a goal fest.
There is one more really good game, right?
Sheffield play Everton. So I'm hoping Leicester.
United Leicester. Yeah. I mean, how are you side skipping that? Yeah, that's the one. That's a good game.
It's the
first game on the week. You just basically skipped that and you started naming Aston Villa, Palace, Fulham, Southampton and all.
I didn't even talk about Palace. Anyway, the last thing I want to leave you guys with is what is your strategy for game week 19 and game week 18? Game week 18 is, of course, a lot of blanks in that game week. And game week 19 has a bunch of double game weeks. There's also game week 26, which has double game weeks. And there might be a 29 also. But now that we know that the end of the year is nigh, I think free hit is obviously number one on everyone's mind. And then eventually a wild card because everyone's wild card will come back. Sapre, talk to us from someone's perspective who's already used their free hit. What do you do?
I will start making changes from the next game week itself. I think the Spurs assets were good to have, and I think the last 5 matches they've played 4 decent teams. I think they played Leicester, Liverpool, they played Arsenal, and I think they also played Chelsea. So continue to build on certain assets starting next game week, so you don't have to take a minus 24 unless you are really good like me. You can
bounce back. You equalize. You've come back to the same points as I was. So I play really terribly, and you make terrible tech decisions. Karthik, what about? Can you talk to the folks who are listening in from someone's perspective who has a free hit but doesn't know what to do with it?
Yeah, so free hit is an interesting concept, and I think it should be used at some point.
Okay. Is this a 2-mark answer or a 5-mark answer?
So what is a free hit? Where
should be Whitehead Junior, bro.
So free hit is where you can play the full 15 people, right?
No, that's bench boost.
Oh, bench boost. So free hit is then therefore for one game week you can change your squad.
Well done. Very well done. I think he reacted really quickly and really well on his feet, which is why we like Karthik. Really smart. Unfortunately, he does support Fulham. But that's it from Fantasy this week. Any parting words, boys?
No, let's talk about United Leicester. I think it's important. Second versus third in the league. Leicester playing at home, so they are not as good as they are away. And United is good away from home. So if you don't have Salah to captain, and if you want to, Bruno is still a good choice. So I think between Kane, Salah and Bruno is what most people are going to pick their caps.
No, I think it's going to be only Liverpool. Yeah, they're Liverpool players. Yeah. They're playing West Brom. I don't think anybody. So unless you want to be a real differentiator and cover up some points, I think because most 80-90% of the people are going to pick Liverpool players as cap.
Differentiator? Yeah. Are you a differentiator, Sapre?
No. I'm not. I don't have my integers.
You have the same number of points as me. How are you anything?
So I'm a Bruno captain, yeah?
Maybe it might be a high-scoring game or maybe just Salah. I don't know. But there's a week for that. Tonight is Arsenal play City. So I'm waiting to go to sleep as soon as possible. I'll just read about it in the morning.
Yeah, wait for the next game, which is United-Everton. I've been told that Lingard's going to start.
Really?
Yeah. So please, if you are not able to sleep today, you will definitely get a chance to sleep the next day.
Very nice. Okay, on that note, let's call it a day. It was a fun weekend. And
I just have one thing to say because I started this podcast on this note and I just remembered Edge calls his fans edgeheads. Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? You have to admit that's interesting. Come on.
Wait, so when you say interesting, I usually use the word interesting when I don't have a better phrase and I don't want to, either criticize or, give a compliment. So I'll say interesting. Like, you have an interesting face. Like, now what does that mean, right? So it could mean anything. Like, if you think it's a good thing, sure, it's a good thing.
I thought it more than interesting. I thought it was educative, or should I say educative?
Oh my God. Don't test us like this, man.
Yeah.
Don't test us.
Wow. Fun again. Very nice.
So much fun.
I love spending time on the podcast, but that's all the time that I really want to spend on the podcast with the both of you. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. See you next game week. Until then, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media handles. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I'm Fickleberry Hun on Twitter and Instagram. That's Huckleberry Finn, but Fickle.
If you want to reach out to me, I am Sapre on Twitter and Sapre on Instagram.
You can reach out to me at iRant, which is IYERANT on Twitter and Instagram. This is Football Shootball. Recognize.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.